This ushers in a whole new year-and-a-half phase of your life. This is Saturn, girl. And I don't think you understand the gravity of what's going on in your chart right now. As we speak, we've had an unholy collision of several transits, all concentrated around Pisces. And you need someone brilliant like me to put it all in context for you. You see, Saturn, my grandmommy, and our Countess of Constraint has been transiting Pisces since March of 2023. We also just had our first lunar eclipse in Pisces since 2016, just this past September. Plus, the lunar nodes will pass into Pisces and Virgo in January of 2025. And the nodes haven't changed signs since July of 2023. This ushers in a whole new year-and-a-half phase of your life. And on top of that, Jupiter, our priest of prosperity, just went retrograde in Gemini on October 9th. Of course, Jupiter rules Pisces, and he'll be forming a square with Saturn on and off until May of 2025. What does this mean? What it means is that the whole sign house that Pisces is for you is getting punished. Pisces is getting a spanking. And no, not the fun kind. Saturn has been slowly draining the vitality from your Pisces house. And you may not have noticed, or just not taken it seriously. She's also been retrograde, so this hasn't been a time for positive action. And the consequences of avoiding hard work are starting to dawn on us. The lunar eclipse likewise signaled a big ending in that area of life, and you probably realized that you had to attend to some uncomfortable issues. But Jupiter retrograde is a rude awakening. Literally the day that Jupiter stationed retrograde, many of us became painfully aware of the constraints and contractions in that area of life, represented by the whole sign house that Pisces is for us. Adding insult to injury, Saturn will be further restricting Jupiter as she forms a square with him on and off until May of next year. You see, my grandmommy loves bondage. Now, Saturn stations direct on November 15th, which means we gotta get back to work. But we won't see any positive movement or results until after Jupiter goes direct again in February. Even then, it will still feel like a slow-going slog. That is, until next spring and summer, when Jupiter finally enters Cancer and Saturn finally enters Aries. But don't worry, that will present a whole nother set of issues. I'm not trying to be negative nor make you anxious. I'm just trying to give you my sober, well, at least right now, assessment of a combination of very important astrological conditions that will affect your life. But lucky for you, I'm offering some brief guidance by doing your horoscopes for this mess. I don't want you to worry because there are many potential bright spots, but it's going to take effort to make them a reality. Remember, we do these for each rising sign. But if you don't know it, go ahead and watch for your sun sign. So let's start with Aries Rising, our Aries Rising Hermes. This means Saturn has been in your 12th house of isolation, and you've probably been feeling exiled or kicked out of your comfort zone. Maybe you felt imprisoned or have been dealing with mental health issues. The lunar eclipse let you know that there's a problem, and Jupiter retrograde is telling you that you need to go back and address it. If you've been dealing with self-destructive behavior, now is the time to get help. It's likely that you've been feeling empty, or maybe a sense of meaninglessness, and you need to find a deeper spiritual motivation to press on. But let's move on to Taurus Rising, our Taurus Rising Hermes. This means Saturn has been in your 11th house of hopes and friends, and you've probably cut some people off or felt rejected by your own circle. Maybe you feel unsupported and cynical, The lunar eclipse let you know that you're not an island, and you need the support of people around you. Jupiter retrograde probably made you aware that you need to repair some rifts in your friendships. It could have to do with money. Perhaps you owe one of your friends money, or they could owe you. This is also about forgiveness, which is letting go of an emotional debt. So please, see if you could forgive yourself or someone else. But let's move on to Gemini Rising, our Gemini Rising Hermes. Saturn has been transiting your 10th house of life direction, and you've probably felt stagnant, directionless, or like you can't catch a break. Maybe no one sees your hard work. The lunar eclipse let you know that the path you were on wasn't moving anywhere, and probably wasn't even satisfying anyway. Jupiter retrograde then sternly told you that you need to take a detour. Perhaps your relationships are even suffering because of it. This likely has to do with your career path, but it could be your life direction in general. New opportunities will likely open up after February, so don't lose hope. But let's move on to Cancer Rising, our Cancer Rising Hermes. Saturn has been touring your 9th house of beliefs, and I bet you've been feeling a sense of meaninglessness or perhaps spiritual aridity. You may also be struggling with a legal issue. The lunar eclipse probably alerted you to this. It's about leaving old thinking behind, but that's not comfortable either. Your worldview is changing and your mind needs to catch up with your heart. This is probably causing you stress, and you need to withdraw, heal, and focus within for a bit. Let your own wise judgment lead you down a new path. You also need to take care of your health and not push yourself too hard. But let's move on to Leo Rising, our Leo Rising Hermes. This means Saturn has been transiting your 8th house of death and debt, which is all about loss and letting go. You may have had a debt situation spiral or even lost someone close to you. It could also be a financial loss or something to do with insurance. The lunar eclipse is telling you to focus on your finances and consolidate your expenses, while Jupiter retrograde scolded you to cut out what isn't necessary. You've been having fun and being a bit irresponsible perhaps, and now you're going to feel hungover unless you can cultivate some discipline and organize yourself. But let's move on to Virgo Rising, our Virgo Rising Hermes. You see, Saturn has been transiting your 7th house of relationships and oppositions, which can strain our romantic relationships or even deepen commitments, although it may make you feel trapped. A long-term rivalry could also be going on as well under the surface. The lunar eclipse helped you to realize that you don't even feel like you know your partner anymore, or that you haven't been allowed to be yourself. Jupiter retrograde is like, yo, bro, you need some independence. Cultivate your own interests, yes, but also get to know your partners again too. You may have been competing with someone at work, and you need to let go of that and focus on your own private life because guess what? A job is a job. But let's move on to Libra Rising, our Libra Rising Hermes. This means Saturn has been transiting your 6th house of health and work, which often brings chronic health issues, flare-ups, and a need to organize your life. The lunar eclipse has been telling you to take care of your body, because if you don't, it'll fall apart. Otherwise, it's your work life and responsibilities that need your attention. A family member may be able to help you, or maybe you need to help them. Jupiter retrograde, though, is shouting at you that a new philosophy of life can give you the motivation that you need. But let's move on to Scorpio Rising, or Scorpio Rising Hermes. This means Saturn has been touring your 5th house of children and pleasure, which usually takes the fun out of life. This whole transit that we're going through indicates that we've shirked our responsibilities, but you especially feel it, don't you? The lunar eclipse may have brought problems with your children to a head, or monotony has taken over and it feels like you just can't have fun. Jupiter retrograde, though, is saying that you've probably been a bit reckless with money as well. You're being forced to realize that you can only really enjoy yourself after you've accomplished something. But let's move on to Snagimattarius Rising, our Snagimattarius Rising Hermes. You see, Saturn has been transiting your fourth house of home, parents, and private life, which often means a confining or restrictive home situation, not having time for yourself, or your parents having their own problems. This lunar eclipse, though, is basically showing you that this isn't working, and you've probably been suffering through it for the sake of other people. Jupiter retrograde is saying, save yourself first. You can't give from an empty cup. Your generosity and care are amazing qualities, but if you're not happy, healthy, and energized, you can't give people the best version of yourself, can you? But let's move on to Crapricorn Rising, our Crapricorn Rising Hermes. This means Saturn has been transiting your third house of extended family and communication, which usually means that a sibling or other family member is struggling. Or you likely feel that you've lost your voice and aren't being productive. The lunar eclipse hopefully showed you that you've been holding yourself back, or that your family needs your help. Jupiter retrograde, though, is yelling at you that it's probably a health issue, or that you need to be more proactive. You need to find a new motivation, but it's only going to come by doing things. You need to put that goat nose to the grindstone, but remember that slow and steady wins the race. And let's move on to Aquarius Rising, our Aquarius Rising Hermes. This is me. And Saturn has been transiting our second house of money and possessions. And I know we've been struggling on that front. It feels like our finances have been royally fucked. The lunar eclipse, though, probably made us aware that we've been wasting our resources. And then Jupiter retrograde is telling us to cut it out, tighten our belts, and see what non-essentials we can cut out of our lives. This is about streamlining our lives and learning how to both be frugal and responsible with our money and possessions. You see, the things that we own end up owning us. So we must learn to live lightly. But let's move on to Pisces Rising, our Pisces Rising Hermes. This means Saturn has been transiting your first house of self, body, and mind, which makes you morose and melancholy, as if you needed any help, right? It also brings health challenges and faces you with your own mortality. The lunar eclipse showed you that there are plenty of parts of yourself that you haven't acknowledged, or perhaps have kept private out of fear. But Jupiter retrograde is like, shut up. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. You're being forced to look at yourself, to be proud, and to wear what you've been hiding on the inside, and wear it on the outside like a fabulous dress. Although if you're anything like me, it's just gonna be your birthday suit. But anyway, I hope this stuff was useful. Please subscribe and consider tipping me. Thank you for watching. Like this video and subscribe to my channel. And make sure to click the bell when you subscribe so that you get notified when my new videos drop. And I do the best readings. It's science. You can book through my website, saturngirl.org. And if you can't afford a reading right now, come to my live streams and get one for free. But you have to be subscribed to get notified about them. And please consider tipping me. It helps me make such wonderful content. You can give through super thanks below or become a member of my channel. And remember, I love you. You're beautiful and have a wonderful whatever it is you're having.